This is the beautiful Jenny Brown, and she and I worked together over a year ago. And so I'm excited to chat to her today because we haven't really caught up for a year. So I'm excited to hear what life looks like today for her. But I wanted to invite her on to just share with us her journey of really just moving beyond some of the ceilings and limitations and things that she was facing to be where she is now. She's a wife and a mom to two beautiful girls, and she works with her husband in a business and they help coach other business owners. And so, welcome.
Thanks, Leah.
Before we kind of dive into where you're at now, I want to kind of paint a picture for those that are watching, and especially the women that are watching that are potentially from kind of a religious background, no matter what that looks like, and they're in business or they're high level leaders and they have these goals to be huge influential leaders and have that amazing contribution in the world. So given that's who is listening, I want to paint a picture of where you were at before we worked together and what kind of led you to that place.
Yes, before working with you, Leah, I had owned an IT consulting firm, basically. And after that, at some point, I decided, this is not fulfilling my purpose as a human
Yeah.
anymore. And I kind of fell into basically becoming a decluttering consultant or decluttering coach. And I literally went, house to house and helped women to declutter. And I took this model and I actually found an online coach to, support me to take this business online. And so one of the things that I found out through that process of marketing my coaching services online was that, I had a very successful funnel, like very successful, like got lots of calls booked and talked to lots of great people, got clients, but it just, there was something that was off and it didn't feel like the right fit for me as far as what I was offering to help these, clients with.
Mm.
And so I'm somebody who I would say used to, I guess, identify myself a lot with work. Like I am work and work is me,
Yeah.
and work is a big part of my purpose and who I am as a person.
It's kind of like enmeshed with work. Like the work is me. I love that.
Yeah. And so when I came to you, that was my number one challenge
Mm.
is coming up with a new offer to offer online. Because I still wanted to do that online business. I just didn't want to do it around decluttering anymore. And the other thing I came to you about, which was kind of secondary, but it felt very entangled in my challenge to figure out a new offer, was basically my relationship with my mom and some stories that I had around
Mm.
that caused, resentment. I
Mm.
felt resentful and I felt really hurt. I don't know. I think back then I don't know if I would have said the word hurt, but I felt resentful and
Yeah.
mad. I think it's funny just to even talk about it now because of the work that I did with you. It's just transformed so much. So I definitely, anyways, going back to my before picture, you know, remind myself of all the hot mess. So I was saying that was secondary, but to me, it felt very related that I was having like one big crisis and it kind of involved those two components. It involved my work and somehow the relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
And my feelings about those things were like coming to like peaking,
Yeah.
my frustration about those things. So you actually told me that that's pretty normal in your realm of work, that there's going to be some kind of parental relationship that is strained.
Yeah.
I love my mom,
Yeah.
but I still had this feeling at that time. So yeah, that's where I was at.
Mm. If you feel okay to share, could you explain a little bit of your background as far as God or religion goes and how that kind of added into it as well, if it did?
Yeah, I actually grew up Buddhist. My family's Buddhist. I became a follower of Jesus in college, basically. When I was looking for a coach, and I don't even know if I was like, oh, I'm looking for a coach. It was more of like, I'm looking for help with these problems that I have. I would like some outside help because I'm getting nowhere, like, just hamster on a wheel kind of
Yeah.
situation where it's like, I'm not able to help myself. So, can I seek some outside help? And so I know that the way that you're very publicly, and unabashed about loving Jesus and just the way that you carry yourself on just posts. I can't even, honestly, now I'm like, how did I know that Leah
Just a vibe, I
could?
tell you. It's just a vibe.
I did, I did actually, because I know somebody who was your client. And then she was like, yeah, I mean, Leah definitely helped me. It's so funny to think back now because I was very hesitant. And so like it's so funny because I really changed quite a bit. But back then, I was really like, I need to research everything. Like,
Yeah.
I had to be very thorough and
Yeah.
just stuff like that. And it was an investment, I'll say that. So it was a decision to be made for sure. So nothing wrong with, investigating and whatnot. But I think the reason that I think it's so funny is because now I know that what you have to offer, not just, the various methodologies, but it's, your methodologies and I think is like the secret sauce, where it's like, okay, I know, like now I know it works. So I think that's why I think it's funny.
Would you share anything of your relationship with God before we started working together? It might feel like so long ago. Do you not even remember?
No, I know what you're referring to, but I can't put my finger on it because I don't remember
Yeah.
anymore. Can
Wow.
you,
That's amazing. I
I
love
don't
this so
remember.
much. This is making me very happy. The fact that you don't remember means that's how much you've transformed as a person, and it's so unrelatable to you now that it's not even in your mind anymore. That's powerful. So one of your goals was you actually came and you used the word spiritual crisis. I'm in a spiritual crisis, and one of your top two things was to heal your relationship with God.
I remember that. I can validate what you're saying. What else?
Yeah. I just to see where you are now and to have that as what your languaging was, like that's really strong languaging around it. I'm quite blown away.
For sure. I mean, I would say, well, I mean, obviously, I literally can't remember what my crisis was, but I will say that what I remembered helping me is to, like, one of the, you had a bunch of different tools that we used throughout our work together. But one tool in particular, I mean, I pretty much use it every day. And that
Yeah.
really draws me closer to God.
Yeah.
So that practice is something that has transformed my relationship with God. Mhm.
And so, do you remember what the potential that you felt in yourself?
Well, I just knew that in my current state, I wasn't doing or being what was possible for me.
Yeah.
The main Where the frustration came from is just knowing that I can have something more, I can be something more,
Mm.
and I just don't know how to get there by myself.
Yeah.
That was frustration. Not so much that I had like a vision for my potential, but
Yeah.
just more of like, I know something else is there's something else that's possible.
How was that kind of showing up in your life and your business and your relationship?
I mean, for sure in my work, I mean, I just felt stuck. One way that it showed up was basically this idea of my caring what other people think.
Yeah.
And we worked on that
Yeah.
specifically. And now I know how to make just choices, and I know how to live my life while other people have their opinions and feelings and whatever else.
Yeah.
And I can just still be doing my own thing.
Wow. That's worth
And so,
celebrating right there.
yeah,
That is something that most people never actually develop the skill and the power to do. Like that's immeasurable in itself.
definitely.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm just giving it like a moment of silence. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's very, it's a, I mean, I think you said it very well. It's a skill and it's a power.
Yeah. And that's what I describe as that personal, I call it God-given personal sovereignty, because it's like God has given us, He's created us as unique individual human beings. And yes, our behavior and things has an impact on other people, but ultimately, who are we? Who are we and who are we not? And that's, who is God and who is He not? Who are others and who are they not? And so it's really getting those distinguishing marks around yourself that allow you to actually make those decisions and say, well, actually, this is my decision to make for me, or this is what I want, and giving yourself that real, that's your queen. You just earned your crown, queen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
All right. And so how do you think and feel and behave differently than you did beforehand?
I mean, so like I manage a team, and I actually had to recently let someone go as well. And so like that's like just a regular, I mean, obviously I'm not doing that every day, but you know, that's an example of like a relationship.
Yeah.
Just in talking about my real life, like that's something that I am given to do. And now I can do it well
Wow.
with a clear conscience. And I can make good decisions that serve me and serve others without guilt, with confidence, with clarity. And I think that is a power and a skill, like you said.
Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, that's an example of what my life is like today.
Yeah.
Even in that example of letting someone go, they wrote back an email with like a lot of all caps. It was a pretty short email. But what's really cool is that, first of all, just my initial knee jerk response to it was very mild.
Yeah.
And then over the weekends, like I noticed myself, I would get a visual, like a little kind of like it would just kind of pass.
Yeah.
And I would notice like, oh, I just have an awareness that this is coming up for me.
Yeah.
Like I have the opportunity to like just clear this out.
Yeah.
And then I sat with myself, which is something that you encouraged me, us clients, to practice. It's something that you do as well. Is
Yeah.
you talk about it quite a bit about just sort of sitting with yourself, or sitting with Jesus. And so like I just sat with myself and I, cleared it and then haven't thought of it since.
Wow.
I know there's a large population of people on the planet, if not most people or almost everybody, who, we're distracted in our workday or when we're playing with our kids, like we can't be present
Yeah.
because we're holding on to something
Yeah.
that we're angry about, have a grudge about. It's not resolved yet. And so to be able to, work through things and work through the past as
Yeah.
well is very empowering.
Yeah. And to have a very specific process as well of how to go about doing that. And if you've been doing it every day, you'll be able to just do it in your head. And I love what you said too about the ability to stay present, like be present with your people instead of still being in that issue. I think a lot of people would be able to relate to that. What would you say have been the biggest results for you from the work that we did together?
I think I might have mentioned it before, but just my relationship with my mom is very, very different. I feel like a bigger capacity to show compassion. And I literally cut the cord. That was one of our exercises.
It was a visualization. I just want to make that clear because that didn't sounded like a physical cord.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
visualization.
So
But yeah, my mom is in her 70s. I literally moved to another state. You know, we moved so that I could be closer to my mom because I know, she's in her 70s.
yeah.
And so it's very important to me, was very important, is very important to make the most of the time that we have together.
Yeah.
So for me to have a relationship with her that where I've cleared a bunch of stuff. Mind you, literally like all this happened without her interacting with me. It
Yeah.
was just like that I worked through, with you,
Yeah.
tools to work through. And, our relationship is transformed. And that's
Yeah.
because I
Oh,
made the choice to work on it.
that's amazing. And would you say that she has changed at all, or do you think you would wholly attribute it to all the work that you've done internally, or do you think it's kind of like 20%, 80%?
I mean, if I had to give it a number, maybe I would say like an 80-20, just because where 80% of it just has to do with my own perspective now, my
Yeah.
new perspective,
Yeah.
and my ability to deal, so to speak, to cope.
Yeah.
And the other 20%, I think, is when I became more open or when I dropped certain lenses and certain stories that I had, that gives her the space to show up,
Yeah.
you know. And so, it just creates new opportunity.
I love this because
Mhm.
it's so true because it shifts the dynamic, right? It automatically, like, you stepping out of your role allows her to step into a different role as well. And so it's kind of
Yeah.
forces change. And it's not that she's dramatically changed as a person, it's that the
Right.
way that you approach. If I could help everyone get what you have gotten out of this, like the understanding that I actually have so much more power in these relationships, in these interactions, and the way that I'm showing up is actually adding to this dynamic. Like, I'm not solely a victim, because like when we see ourselves as victims to things like challenging relationships, then we actually give away our power to change anything as well. Yeah. Oh, so powerful.
I'm I'm really, really glad that you said the word victim because I definitely did not. I'm pretty sure I did not write that in my beginner application thingy, but now I can look back and I can say that that is with a position that I put myself in, or
Yeah.
that is a
Oh,
story that I
wow.
created from my
Yeah.
memories. Is
Yeah.
like I literally, that's why I was mad. That's why I was resentful,
Yeah.
is because I thought that somebody was doing something to me, so to speak. By
Yeah.
the way, she's actually a great mom. It feels really good to have a different point of view about it
Yeah.
now, where I
Yeah.
don't have to be mad about those, situations.
Yeah. And anyone listening, like, what we're not saying is that we skipped over all the stuff and we just told Jenny, like, you just need to think about your mum differently. That's absolutely not what we did, because there was genuine hurt, there was genuine resentment, there was genuine anger, or whatever the residual feelings were. And so it's not that we glossed over those and pretended that they weren't there. That's absolutely, because that's just toxic positivity. That's spiritual bypassing. That's absolutely not helpful. And it catches up with you down the track. What we actually did was we went in with this very specific structure, and we allowed those previous parts of her, because that was all older kind of stuff from childhood and from her background. And so it allows those parts to release so that when she's showing up, She's not showing up in the world as the good girl or the hurt girl or the one that was the mediator or whatever the roles were. And you can hear it, like even your voice, you sound so much more. Oh, hold on. You've just frozen.
Oh, I did.
Oh, there you
That's
are. There,
weird.
there you are. You froze with your eyes closed too. And you can see like how much more, even because I haven't talked to you for a little while, and even just seeing you, you are so much more confident. And the way that you're actually speaking and using your voice is so much more certainty and just power than what you ever did. And like the confidence level, I can see you're not, there's the self-doubt or there's just kind of no, I can see there's no niggling things coming at you right now. And that is just like, that's the superpower of this process, really, of being able to step out away from the parts of you that are slowing you down from reaching your full potential. How's that freed you as far as living your full potential in other relationships or as a mom or in business?
For me to change as a human being, which is what has happened, for me to be released from the old relationship that I had with my mom, and even the old relationship I had with my sister, because somewhat recently I had a meaningful conversation, but it wasn't that long, which I think is very funny. Because, and the reason is, it didn't have to be this whole beat around the bush long conversation. I just,
Yeah.
and I did it over chat, which is kind of crazy. Like, I didn't have to call her. It was just like, I have the freedom to say exactly what I'm thinking, and I
Yeah.
don't need to be worried about how she's going to receive it. I'm going to say it tactfully. I'm going
Yeah.
to be loving, say it
Kind.
from a good
Yeah.
place, but I can just say exactly what it is and not be like, I got to do all these disclaimers before I
Yes.
say the thing. And that's a that's huge.
Wow.
So absolutely. I take that to work. I had that with my mom. Now I'm doing that with my sister. I mean, I don't know where this came from, but I mean, I can definitely give credit, at least some credit, to the work that we did. But even with my spouse, just, it doesn't matter what kind of day that he's having or how much sleep he had or didn't have or whatever. I'm resilient and I can just basically deal with anything. So
I'm loving this. This is
I can
amazing.
basically deal with anything. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't, and I mean, I got Jesus backing me up, and it's very helpful that I have tools, and more importantly than the tools. I mean, the tools are very important. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a different person. And I think going through that process of making a very conscious effort to work on these things and then having the support from
Mm.
someone like you who actually knows how to help and actually does know the methods and practices it yourself. And for me, and I think a lot of the people who are going to have the opportunity to work with you, I think that they're going to be very drawn to the fact also that, you know, I don't feel like you claim to have figured out every single thing, in life, that
Yeah.
you're like the guru or something like. And for me, I mean, even though we're not, working together at this very second, I'm still inspired by that, So I'm still impacted by that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of power. I actually was dwelling on that yesterday or today. My days are blurring together. But it was like what is the impact we can make by just showing up imperfectly? When we are, yesterday I went to somewhere where I know like perfection is kind of the culture of this community. And as I was entering into this community, I was like, I could sense and feel in myself my desire to like perfect everything about myself so that I could kind of fit in. But I was like, that's just such a horrible way of living life and such an unrealistic expectation. And then we all become the same as each other as well, which is absolutely not God's design for us. Yeah, it was just the the energy of that perfection, of those really high standards, And the impact we can have when we show up imperfectly is exactly what you're saying. When I show up imperfectly, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by that, right? And my inner perfectionist is like, no. but it's like when we do, we actually are inspiring others in the way that we're showing up, even even when we're failing or make mistakes or we stuff up or blur our words together and forget words, which is what I always do. What does life look like now for you? What are you moving into? I think you're at such a pivotal moment because a lot of the work that we did together was kind of just freeing you from the way that you thought you had to show up in the world, the way that you had to be. And it was kind of like this boxed in concept of how you had to do things. And I can see you're really ready to do the dance in the framework, do the dance and work out like, what is it that I want to bring to the world? What lights me up? What am I meant to be doing? What is the contribution I want to make? And they're very different questions, aren't they? Than like, where should I be serving? Like, how should I be the superhero in all those spaces? And it comes with a lot of ease and a lot of going with the flow of how you naturally exist and how you naturally are, how God has made you. And I love what you're saying too, because there's such an ownership now that you have over yourself and the impact you have on other people just by being you. And that was a huge amount. I remember doing that work a few weeks in a row with you. So the fact that you own so much of who you are and you actually are really valuing that is just so beautiful. Like, to be able to just own the value of you being you without having to strive and work super hard and try to get attention. It's just like, I actually just want to be. Like, that's amazing.
I feel like you articulated it better than I did, but exactly what you're saying. It allows for a lot more playfulness and fun and no stress. It kind of doesn't matter that I don't know how to make a TikTok. I literally Googled yesterday
You'll
or the
work
other
it
day.
out.
My first TikTok. I Googled that. It wasn't a great video that came up, but whatever. Like it doesn't matter. I have the opportunity to pursue it. And I feel like, God is gonna, if this is what he wants me to do, he's not gonna like put a blindfold on me and like just make me just wander around or something. Yeah. Like it will, I can pursue it and he's gonna unfold things for me.
So what I have noticed about what you just said as well is like, it's like the pressure is removed. What I've noticed is when a lot of pressure exists, that's when we're trying to force things and shove things and trying to be someone we're not and trying to force God sometimes as well. Whereas where you're at the moment is like, I'm open and surrendered and I'm kind of just ready to do what's next. And I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. I'm going to learn the skills and I'm going to do things and take the first steps and see what happens. And that's isn't that such a different energy than like, I have to force it. I have to make it work. And I'm putting myself under so much pressure. And you're running a business with your husband at the same time. So there's like already so many things happening, and just having that openness to be able to move forward, such a beautiful thing. If you were to speak to someone right now who's exactly where you were just when you found me and we first started working together, what would you say to them?
Mostly I would just ask questions because I know my old self back then did not want to be told what to do. I wanted to research everything to death and things like that. You're clicking on this thing because you're looking for something. And so which is why I clicked on the things and which is why I pinged friends and like all that kind of stuff. Cause I was hoping that, someone could help me. I really hoped that. So the questions that I would ask are, what are you dealing with? Like, what are you feeling challenged by right now? What is this making you feel like on a regular basis? Are you feeling, frustrated? I'm using my words, but I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling, resentful. I was feeling like I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't making progress. So I think I would just ask those questions. And then, are you just done? Are you like just done feeling that way?
Mm,
And do you want help?
mm.
It's really up to you. Even if it's a little scary, you can still make a decision of
Yeah.
like, I definitely cannot continue doing this by myself.
Yeah.
And I just figure it out by myself.
Yeah.
That can be, you can just sit by yourself and just, you can figure that out. Then the next question is, well, then if you've decided that you can't do it on your own, then who or what or where? And then it's just a matter of like finding that person.
Yeah. I always think with myself too, when I'm investing in coaching and mentoring now, this is certainly not how I used to do it, but I really do. I have learned to trust the knowing, like the bubbly, excited, kind of nervous, scared feeling, like whatever that feeling is, how it shows up in your body. That's how I'm like, yeah, I know this is the thing already. So really, it's only then about getting myself over that fear of like, oh, is this gonna be the thing that will help to unlock me some more, to move a step closer? Is this gonna be the next step in my evolution? Because I think sometimes too we expect like programs and coaches to be the like one stop fix of like, it's going to solve all my problems in my life. And it's like, actually, what if this is just the next step in your evolution, in your growth process, rather than like, I need to solve 10 problems? Like, what if this is just about who you're becoming in this world, who you're transforming to be? And it takes so much of the pressure off and just allows you to really start listening to yourself and what you already do know and feel. I remember my last coach that I hired, oh my gosh, like I felt it was like a sick, but it was like I'm so excited at the same time. Like I'm so sick, I'm so excited, I'm so nervous, and I just feel it in my bones that I need this. Like that she has one of the little keys to unlock the next door, And it wasn't that I expected her to unlock 20 doors for me. It was like, yeah, I feel like she's just got a key. She holds something that I want to possess too. And that has helped me just to relax more in investment decisions.
Yeah, could not have said it better. I will say that I don't know if this is helpful or not, but it was like, I want an offer. And I finished the program and it wasn't like, oh, I had another offer. That actually didn't happen.
Yeah.
However, I did step into something new.
Yeah.
I have no idea if it was a timing thing or not. Was it worth, doing the program? Yeah, 100%. But I think what you said about it's just about then like I liked what you said about Leah's not a magic wand, and it's about your what to do next.
Mm.
There was some expression also about like you don't have to figure out how to get up the 25 different steps,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
how do you just get up? Like I was just struggling how to get up to the very next step, let
Yeah.
alone 25 other ones.
I,
Yeah.
I
But
remember our first conversation as well. And I do remember saying to you something like, I think you need about a year. And you were like, a year? Oh, like, and you were super offended by the year. But I honestly think, like, where you are now, how much has kind of really just clicked in for you. Like, I can tell now you're at a place where you are confident, you are using your voice, you are ready to be seen, you are good with God. Like, all these things have kind of clicked into place. And like it takes the time that it takes, and we can't force things. We can't force you to like have those things click in. Sometimes they do take time to go, okay, I'm going to own that, I'm going to own that, I'm going to own that, I'm going to own that. And then all of a sudden, like I'm chatting to you now and I'm like, whoa, you really are showing up very differently. Even the way that you're speaking and with the certainty and the confidence that you're coming across with is just like loads different. And I'm so excited about that. And I think there's giving yourself grace as well in the process, that the process is the process. And we sometimes get so frustrated, and like I still like this at times, like wanting to force myself and hurry up and change, and I'm here but I want to be there. And it's like sometimes we just need, like, what is the next step? Just focus on, like, what is the next step that is going to help me evolve into who I want to be, or who I envision myself to be.
Yeah, I think to your point about the process takes however long it's going to take. I mean, I put in the work, one. Two, you gave me the tools, to do this work. Obviously, and I have other, things that I've trainings
Yeah.
and whatever else things. And they just stack on top of each other, like you're saying, like it's just like another step. And like you cumulatively use all the things, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't remember how long ago it was. It probably was about a year or something that we had worked together. But at the end of our work together, I wasn't like, let me do a testimonial for you, Leah.
Yeah.
But I literally reached out to you recently and was like, I'm ready to do the testimonial now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was because before, I don't remember all the reasons why, but there were probably one or two main reasons why I didn't want to do a testimonial yet.
Mm.
I think the main one that sticks out to me is just hiding. And, we actively worked on my sort of not hiding, but yet only now I was like, I'm ready to
Yeah.
go public, sort of
Yeah.
speak. And so for me to even share this much of myself
Yeah.
is a pretty big deal, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
in some ways, it doesn't feel like a big deal because I've literally made this decision and
And you've transformed so
I've been
much.
comfortable
Yeah.
with it. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I mean, compared to where I was at a year ago, however long ago that was, obviously I've changed because I literally changed my mind about,
Yeah.
doing this interview together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I can see that you're ready to be seen. And I think the way you just described that was really accurate. It was like you weren't ready to let yourself be seen. But I think a lot of that comes from the process of, like, doing the work. As you said, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it isn't a magical, like, one fix wonder. Like, we can achieve a lot in one session, don't get me wrong, but like, you did the work and you continue to do the work, and that's why you're seeing the results and the fruits now. But that real, like, deep level of self-acceptance, and that's why I can see just a whole new level of confidence in you, because it's like there's just a deep level of self-acceptance of my value and my vibrance and my voice. And that's what makes you want to be seen, because it's like, if I accept me, if someone else rejects me, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore to me. And that's that is such a huge victory that you've won in just this topic alone, this time. Like, I just, yeah. Oh,
I know. Good stuff.
oh, yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I would just share about you in that, if you haven't met Leah before, she's very caring. She also has great boundaries. And so you can just like learn from example. I think that's cool. I really appreciate that you uh, you said that you forget words sometimes, or like even when we were talking, like maybe you lost your train of thought. I've never met anyone else besides myself that does that. So
Yeah.
my train of thought, like on a somewhat regular basis. I remember you had recorded a master class or something, and like you did not edit that out. And I just loved you even more for it.
Oh,
I
I
was like,
love that.
see, I was telling other people, I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
Because we're all human beings. So I think just your practicing, I don't want to say practicing what you preach, but like you're just living your life,
Yeah.
just being yourself.
I'm just being. Yeah.
I think it's very helpful to be around. And what's really cool is actually, I was thinking this the other day because I kind of had this thought at one point of like, well, you have a coach and then like you kind of like not outgrow them, but kind of like, okay, that, and that was, at that time. But honestly, like I think that you're somebody that not timeless, but kind of like
Ooh, I love that word.
I think that you're evolving, and so I might catch a second wave, or like like other people might do that too. You know what I'm saying?
Second,
Um,
let's go
like
surfing, Jenny.
yeah, exactly. You're
I
welcome
love
for
that.
the Australian reference. No, just kidding. But yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and then also I think you're fun, so that makes coaching sessions more fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did a ton of crying, so there was
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're a really good mix of we get to laugh, we have fun, you're genuine, that rubs off. You lead by example. So it's not just like, listening to your lessons or whatever, but like it's just
Yeah.
seeing you and your life outside of the coaching sessions, doing your thing. I think
Mm.
that's very helpful to be around.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have a gift to help us, to connect to our heart with the tools and the methods, but also just what you bring. So don't hesitate,
I
if
love
you've
that
never
the
met Leah.
Texan just came out.
I think it's hilarious that you think I said the Texan accent. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
But that's cool. Americans like love anybody who's not from the US. Like we just think
yeah.
everybody has a coolest accent.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah,
I
that's
love
all
it.
that's
My next question was like, what would you say to someone who was on the fence about working with me? But I think you just answered that with what you just said.
yeah. She's real. You could pet her dog if you were actually there.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
could cuddle him. And so, as we wrap up, like, how do you feel about yourself now? That's the deep question, because it's like we often come into these containers and we think we're here to solve problems, but really we're often here to transform how we feel about ourselves. What would you say have been the biggest shifts there for you?
I mean, I consider myself a pretty conscientious and self-aware person before, but there's no mountaintop for self-awareness. It just keeps going
Keep on going.
until you're dead. So I'm more self-aware. I am more gentle with myself.
Mm,
That's actually a pretty big one. And you
yeah.
gave me a tool for that as well
Mm.
that I practice like daily, pretty much. So, though, I mean, enough said. Like I'm more gentle with myself,
Yeah.
and whatever the other thing I said. I mean, those are pretty big.
Awareness.
Those are
Yeah.
pretty big things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I really sense that you now really own the magic of who you are. That to me just gives me goosebumps, like I do remember there were sessions where you're like, who am I if I'm not this like high achieving workaholic who performs and achieves? Like, who am I? And I think you're now at a place where it's like, I know who I am. I know that when I show up in the world, I have this beautiful impact on people just by being me. And that for me is like, it's just so like, it's like a job well done. Like it's like music to my ears, because it's just to see you fully ready to step out by owning who you are and not needing to overwork to be someone that you're not. Like that's just such a superpower. So I get so excited about that stuff. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's something that I said at the beginning that I really identified with my work. And
Mm.
my work is obviously still very important to me, but it doesn't define me anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not glued to, I'm not even glued to being a coach. I really enjoy coaching, but so for me to talk about it the way that I talk about it now, that's very different. I use
Yeah.
different language. I can do whatever I feel like doing in
Yeah.
my life,
Yeah.
living, and I'm still me and I'm still awesome and I still
Yeah.
have a lot to contribute.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's not restrictive anymore. So that's really great.
Yeah. It's like that
And it's
freedom
really
and
fun.
liberty of not being in a box anymore. You get to just do you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I do not know if this is related or not, but recently, I mean, I just have been getting, I guess, multiple, I don't say a lot, but just multiple comments from different people that I've coached who are just like, my business is so successful. Like, literally, we want to take you with us. Like, how do I help
Wow.
you? We're going to hit this amount of revenue. Like, how do I, like I don't even want to do it unless I help you to be successful too. Or just people crying and being like, you totally changed my life. Or, people who were like, set up a meeting because they were just like, I just want to bless you because you've blessed us. And so I do not know if it's like how it's related or whatever, but I feel like, when you do this type of work and you can really become more of yourself and you can have healthier, I don't want to say boundaries because I feel like it's overused, but healthier relationships. It includes boundaries. It includes meaning like, I like dominion a lot better than boundaries, actually. You know where your sovereignty is, God's sovereignty is, their sovereignty is. And so it doesn't get all tangled up and
Yes.
confusing. It's
Yeah.
like you can just own your own dominion and sovereignty and just live your best life. And so,
and take up
yeah,
space, like take up your God-given space. God's given us all space to take up, and it's not interrupting other people's space for you to take up your God-given space. Like, it's not arrogant, it's not selfish, it's not greedy to actually be like, I'm actually going to show up in the world as my best, most potent, most powerful, vibrant, like too much self. And that's totally okay. And
yeah,
yeah, like getting to that place is just powerful.
yeah,
Thank you so much for
yeah,
just investing the time with us today to share your journey of just where you've come from to where you're going. Like, I love where you're at now, and I'm so excited. I'm so invested in your journey to see what's next for you, this next chapter, because it's such a pivotal point in time where you're just so open, and like that is just the perfect time for God to start dropping in like what's next. So I'm super excited. And so just thank you.
yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for speaking that truth into me. I love that. Oh, so
Super
exciting.
welcome.